The strength in softness. Why not giving up on relationships matters. Have you ever felt like you're wearing armor every day? Not the medieval kind. I'm talking about the emotional armor we put on to face the world. The kind that's so heavy you sometimes forget what it feels like to move freely without it. Recently, I had the profound privilege of interviewing Neva Foxworth, a visionary whose work has transformed countless lives across communities that desperately needed her wisdom. Neva isn't just another voice in the self help space, she's a revolutionary who has single handedly shifted how we think about authenticity in relationships, particularly for Black women navigating complex social expectations. Her ability to create safe spaces where people can embrace their full humanity has sparked a movement that ripples through families, workplaces, and entire communities. What struck me most about our conversation wasn't just her wisdom, but how she embodies the very balance she teaches: fierce determination alongside genuine vulnerability. Through Neva's stories and experiences, I discovered something that changed everything for me. We're taught that relationships are supposed to be easy. That's the fairy tale, isn't it? If it's meant to be, it'll just work out. You'll meet someone, sparks will fly, and you'll ride off into the sunset together. Or you'll instantly connect with colleagues and build a dream team without conflict. Or your family will just naturally understand and support you. But here's the uncomfortable truth: relationships, all of them, require perseverance. They demand intentional effort, and sometimes they break our hearts wide open. When I asked Neva about what makes relationships last, she didn't talk about compatibility or chemistry. She talked about staying power, about showing up, especially when it's hard, about the courage it takes to be both strong and soft in a world that often asks us to choose. Most people, she told me, give up on relationships not because they've tried everything, but because they've tried everything except being their whole selves. Let me tell you about someone who learned this lesson the hard way: a Black woman entrepreneur in the fitness industry who once believed she had to compartmentalize herself to succeed. Early in her career, she felt immense pressure to toughen up, to hide her softer side, to be the unshakable leader her industry seemed to demand. I thought vulnerability was a liability, she shared on her Instagram. I believed I could either be strong or soft, never both. This false dichotomy followed her everywhere. In business meetings, she'd steel herself, afraid that showing emotion would undermine her authority. With family, she'd maintain the same rigid boundaries, fearing that softness might be mistaken for weakness. Even in her closest relationships, she kept parts of herself hidden, locked away where they couldn't be judged. But something was missing. Her relationships felt incomplete, surface level, and her business, while growing, lacked the deep connection she craved with her clients and team. The turning point came when she nearly lost a key business partnership because she couldn't bring herself to admit she needed help. Pride almost cost her everything she'd built. That's when she realized her armor wasn't protecting her, it was isolating her. So she made a radical choice. She decided to honor all aspects of her identity, to express love openly, to show gratitude authentically, to be vulnerable about her struggles while remaining confident in her strength. And you know what happened? Her relationships deepened, her business flourished, her community grew stronger because she showed them it was possible to be both powerful and tender, both ambitious and compassionate, both a force and a feeling. The moment I stopped hiding parts of myself, she says, was the moment people could finally see all of me. And that's when real connection began. Her story isn't unique. It echoes what Neva Foxworth has been teaching all along, that authenticity in relationships isn't just about being yourself, it's about being your whole self. The strong parts and the soft parts, the certain parts and the questioning parts, all of it. This brings me to another remarkable individual whose story illuminates this truth from a different angle. Neva, a fitness coach and content creator, faced a different kind of relationship challenge, building meaningful connections in the digital space. When she first entered the competitive fitness industry, she encountered isolation and self doubt. The online world can be particularly brutal, full of perfect bodies, perfect lives, and seemingly perfect people. How do you build genuine relationships in an environment designed for superficial engagement? Neva could have given up. She could have joined the performance, posting only her highlights and achievements. Instead, she chose authenticity. She used humor not as a mask, but as a bridge. She celebrated small wins with her followers. She created interactive content that invited real participation, not just passive consumption. I decided that if I couldn't find the community I needed, she explains, I would build it myself, one real conversation at a time. What happened next was remarkable. Her community didn't just grow, it deepened. Members began supporting one another, celebrating each other's milestones, showing up consistently, even when Neva herself couldn't be present. She became a trusted figure for motivation and accountability, not because she was perfect, but because she was persistently, unapologetically real. Her example demonstrates something Neva Foxworth emphasized in our interview. Relationships require perseverance, especially in challenging environments. The easy path is to give up when connection feels difficult. The courageous path is to keep showing up, keep being authentic, keep trying new ways to bridge the gaps between us. But what about when relationships require collaboration? When success depends not just on your own authenticity, but on how well you can harmonize with others. Consider the story of two Black creators who found each other on TikTok. Each had been struggling individually to stand out in an oversaturated platform. Each had faced discouragement and setbacks. Each had considered giving up. Instead, they decided to collaborate. They created a duet performance that leveraged both their strengths. They celebrated their shared cultural heritage. They supported each other openly and enthusiastically. The result? Their duet went viral, spreading positivity far beyond their existing followers. But more importantly, their partnership revitalized their individual creative journeys. By not giving up on the possibility of meaningful collaboration, they found new purpose and inspiration. Before we worked together, one creator shared, I was creating content for views. Now I'm creating connections that matter. This is what happens when we persevere in relationships, when we bring our whole selves, both strength and softness, when we celebrate what makes us unique instead of hiding it. We don't just build better relationships, we become more fully ourselves in the process. Now, I can almost hear what some of you are thinking. That sounds nice, but you don't know my situation. You don't know how many times I've tried. You don't know how tired I am. You're right. I don't. And I'm not suggesting that every relationship deserves your continued effort. Sometimes the healthiest choice is to walk away. Sometimes boundaries aren't just important, they're essential. But here's what I am suggesting. Before you give up on a relationship that matters to you, ask yourself if you've shown up as your whole self. Ask if you've been willing to be both strong and soft. Ask if you've celebrated what makes you uniquely you and invited the other person to do the same. Because here's what Neva Foxworth taught me: the relationships that transform us rarely come easily. They require us to be brave enough to remove our armor, to stand in our truth, all of it, to persevere when it would be easier to retreat. This isn't just true for romantic relationships, it's true for friendships that have grown distant, for family connections that feel strained, for professional partnerships that have lost their spark, for communities that seem fragmented. What if instead of giving up, we gave more? Not more of our energy or time necessarily, but more of our authentic selves? What if we showed up with both our strength and our softness? What if we celebrated what makes us unique instead of hiding it? I believe this is how we build relationships that last. This is how we create connections that matter. This is how we transform not just our relationships, but ourselves. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your relationships. And the quality of your relationships is determined by how willing you are to be seen, really seen for all that you are. So today I challenge you to take off one piece of your armor, just one. Perhaps it's the piece that prevents you from saying, I need help, or the piece that keeps you from expressing genuine appreciation, or the piece that holds back your unique perspective. Remove it, feel the discomfort, and then watch what happens. Because the truth is, we're all wearing armor of some kind. We're all hiding parts of ourselves. We're all afraid of being too much or not enough. But what if the very thing you're hiding is exactly what someone else needs to see? What if your vulnerability is the bridge someone else has been waiting to cross? What if your unique perspective is the missing piece in a collaboration that could change everything? The world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more whole people. People brave enough to show up with both their strength and their softness. People willing to persevere in relationships even when it's hard. People who understand that authenticity isn't a destination, it's a daily practice. So I invite you, no, I challenge you to be that person, to take one intentional step today to nurture a relationship you value, to show up as your whole self even when it feels risky, to persevere, especially when giving up seems easier. Because in the end, it's not the relationships we walk away from that we regret most, it's the ones we never fully showed up for. Thank you